You're watching the Action Sports Jax 24/7 network. Now it's time for the Brent Austen Show.
Oh, there it is. Al Shire. Will he get suspended? This is, by the way, so much involved right here in this part of the melee because this was a second guy with the flag on the left. Why didn't you throw it, dude?
Yeah.
Everything had calmed down at this time, and he went and incited a second melee.
There's a water bottle.
And now you get the water bottle. And thankfully, that didn't get worse. You don't want to see the... Listen, there's no right ever for the fans to throw stuff on the field. And I was thankful that at least there was a few, they got tossed, and that was it. It wasn't more than that because it was that kind of scene there. I was in the stands at this time, went down to see Steph and Ty, and so I was watching from the stands here, and it got hot. I mean, it was kind of hot where you thought maybe you would have more of that, and I was pleased to see there wasn't more of that. You don't want any of it, but also that can turn into everybody doing it. There's so much question around this play. The pool report from the officials, like it didn't escalate to another flag. How did that not escalate to another flag? Mm-hmm. Just one of the complaints. The officials sucked yesterday for the Jags, too, on the 14-yard run. We're just whining here in Jacksonville, by the way, all ready to start. But on the 14-yard run, late before the 8-yard run to finish the game, it was a delay of game. Right. They called the delay of game on Mac Jones earlier with less time off the clock on the 0.
Yeah.
I mean, and then the holding was, did you think it was kind of a phantom hold when ETN got down to the 1 on Brenton Strange? Like, I thought it was a weak call. And it was right after this. It's like the Jags got nothing out of that hit on Trevor Lawrence. They got nothing. They even got a holding penalty that I thought was pretty questionable down there to the goal line that probably would have equated to a touchdown and the lead at the time. So, again, I'm just going to whine here.
Well, I'll be honest, man.
I'm guilty of it, all right? I'll admit it. Whining in Jacksonville. It's begun. Go ahead.
I don't care about the officials.
Oh, yeah. I don't need That's not even the story. That's not the story. The game's not the story. The game's not the story. The story is Trevor Lawrence hit, and then the story is how the Jags responded and then didn't. And then the story is, to me, and it took me a while to get to this point, and it hit me this morning when I thought about why he's kind of like bothered by the way they reacted in the second half. And I was bothered by it, not going to lie. And I think the reason why I'm bothered by it is because it sums up what this football team is to me. It's the same reason why they can't get 3rd and 1 or 3rd and 2. It's the same reason why they don't stop a play on 3rd and 5, where almost every team does to get the ball back in that situation. It's the same reason why they didn't beat the Tennessee Titans a year ago and got their butt whooped in that final game when everything was on the line. To me, that second half by the defense showcased why all those things happened for the last couple of years in Jacksonville. But I'll let you have the money.
I don't even know where to start.
You need a WWE clip real quick to encapsulate it?
Hit me with it, man. So, I love it. I have a funny story about that guy, too. I probably can't tell on the air, but I'll tell you off the break. Man, where to start? Okay. So, Brent, I saw your tweets. Well, I saw them this morning from yesterday. And I'm not even necessarily mad about how the team played in the second half and whether it's the lack of physicality, whether it was the lack of big hits or getting one back for Trevor. What I'm pissed off about, and it's something that I think I've kind of echoed this entire season, there is a culture problem here in Jacksonville. Okay? And when I say there's a culture problem, when your quarterback, the face of your franchise, a captain, and you know what? To hell with it. Take off. When one of your teammates gets cheap shotted like he did, and the Houston Texans can say whatever they want. I ain't trying to hear it. When you have a guy rocking a C on his jersey and he does that, that's all I got to see. That's one of the captains that you appointed to represent your team. Guess what, Houston? You picked you picked a really bad guy to do it. Okay? Simple as that. Because he has a history. Mm-hmm. So forget him. Now, when you have one of your guys take a cheap shot, essentially get knocked unconscious, at least seems like for a couple seconds, goes limp. I'm going to tell you, there's two things you can do in that situation. You can retaliate and you can defend your brother, or you can stand there and watch, well, what should I do? I'm not going to call anybody out. I'm going to praise two people, though, Anton Harris and Evan Ingram.
Yeah.
Lifetime contracts. Forget paying people during the middle of the year. If I'm Trent Baalke, if I'm Shad Khan, Evan Ingram, Anton Harris, congratulations, extensions now. Because they earned it. That's all I had to see from them to know, you know what, we need these guys going forward. Now, I'm not going to call anybody else out and say you should have been in there, but there were some guys who want to stand still. And when the ish pops off, you find out who you really are. Okay? When it goes down unexpectedly, and when something like that happens, you find out what kind of team you have. And I saw some guys go get blood for Trevor, and I saw some guys go, I'm not sure what to do here. Okay? The guys that retaliated, and then the announcers can say whatever the hell they want to say, and Doug Peterson can say whatever he wants to say. Oh, we can't do it, we gotta be smart. To hell with it. This is the game of football. Doug, you played it. You should know. Like, has it really changed that much since I played, where now we can't even go back and get one for our brother, especially our quarterback? But no, we just want to go, we responded during the game, we got to be the bigger person. To hell with being the bigger person. At that point, go out there and make it right. That's how I was raised, and maybe my moral code is different than other people's moral codes. Hopefully mom's not listening right now, But I won't say I was in shock. Can I tell the whole story quickly with my son? Can I tell it? Okay. So it's crazy how life can come at you full circle. It's a little bit of a long-winded story, but I think it relates to this. So when I was 10 years old, I was a giant Wings fan. NHL, we're talking hockey now. The Red Wings played that Colorado Avalanche. Okay, and my stepdad, his name was Mark, was a giant Avalanche fan, and I was a giant Wings fan. And they're playing against each other. I think it's April or March. It's the springtime. I remember exactly where I was. I was on the floor. My stepdad's on the couch. And they get into a huge brawl. And what the brawl was over was a year ago when a guy by the name of Claude Lemieux from the Avalanche cheap-shotted Chris Draper. Mm-hmm. Right? It was during the playoffs and everything. The Avalanche go on to win the Stanley Cup. The Wings go home. And that next season, one of the narratives was, well, Detroit's too soft. Detroit doesn't have, the tenacity to win a Stanley Cup. So then fast forward to this game, and Darren McCarty, who I rock his jersey all the time, goes after Claude Lemieux and hits him in the back of the head, drops him, and starts kneeing him. And then an entire fight breaks out. And I remember I turned to my stepdad. I'm like, man, that was kind of messed up that the Wings did that, huh? And my stepdad goes, what the hell are you talking about? He's like, he was defending his brother. He was defending his teammate. His teammate got cheap-shotted, and he made it right. And I remember being a kid, this is, an Avalanche fan telling me this, and I remember being a kid thinking like, okay. And the synopsis of that story was, if somebody goes after one of your own, you make it right. And that's what my stepdad told me. Now, what would my mom, thankfully she wasn't there because she probably would have tried to de-escalate and say, we don't fight. But like at that moment, that's what was ingrained in me. And then since that moment, I kind of had that moral code where if somebody goes after one of my own, Tyson Alualu in Oakland, when a fan had some derogatory language for him, I almost hopped in the stadium, hopped in the stands. Mel Tucker had to hold me back, and he threatened to sit me the whole game unless I stopped. All right, I stopped. I played the game, but like I was ready to go just over a fan saying something, right? So then we fast forward to Ohio State, Michigan on Saturday. One of my best friends is a giant Michigan fan, so we're watching it with my son. And obviously what happened there. And my son, it comes full circle. My son goes, well, I don't get why the players are fighting so much. Like, Ohio State guys should have took the flag and went after the Michigan guys. And I go, well, let me go ahead and stop you right there, son. I'm like, what happened was like, nobody's really in the wrong. Yes, the Michigan player shouldn't have planted the flag. But when he did, it is what it is. And the Ohio State, players felt a certain type of way. But he's like, well, they shouldn't be fighting. I'm like, no. They should be fighting because somebody threw a punch and then both those teammates had each other's backs and then a brawl ensued. And I go, don't listen to what the announcers got to say about this is disrespectful. Yeah, maybe it leaves a little bit of a black eye on the sport of college football, but being those players on the field, you got to defend each other. And that's what I told them. I'm like, and I don't care what your mom's got to say about it. If you ever find a situation where you or one of your brothers, one of your teammates is getting threatened or getting beat up, I tell them, you make it right. So it came, and he's 10. So it came full circle that day. And it was wow. I got goosebumps because I'm like, dang, man, like I was 10, he was 10. All right, so we share that lesson. Now, watching the Jaguars game, Trevor gets hit. There's some scuffling and stuff like that. And then my son goes, well, is someone going to punch the other player and knock him out? I go, I hope so. And then we're watching the game and nothing happens. And my son's like, well, I thought you said, that you're supposed to defend your brothers and everything. I'm like, yeah, I did. And he goes, well, come they're not doing it. And at this point, I wanted to explain culture and coaching and everything. I just told him, like, man, I guess sometimes people don't want to get into it. But, like, my 9-year-old son was confused why they didn't go get, the guy that got Trevor. So, as a parent, okay, it's whatever. But at the end of the day, it's football, Brent. Right? And it doesn't matter if you played the game or not. You've been on the sidelines. You know how violent it is. And I get there's rules in place now, and hell, there's fines that want to clean up the game, and that's great because player longevity is important, and I understand all that. But at the end of the day, when one of your own gets taken out like that, I think there's some teams in the NFL that have pride, whether they're in playoff contention or they haven't won a game yet. Well, they'll try to make it right. I think there's some teams, I'm not going to say what teams they are, but I know when I played, where if that would have happened and a player went after another player, the coach, the GM, the owner would have took care of the fine. Because this is the disappointing thing. Post-game press conference, guys that I hold in high regard are talking about money. We're talking about fines. We're talking about, you got to be smart out.
No.
That's not how.
No.
Like, and this is, and I'll let you say your piece.
I was disappointed in that.
Yeah. The biggest thing is like, I don't know how much more you got to see from a culture standpoint, Brent. So there's some teams that you do that against where he doesn't make it out alive, figuratively speaking. And then there's some teams where it's just like, no, okay. And the Jaguars are one of those teams right now. And it's frustrating.
It is. They are one of those teams. And listen, there's a lot here. From a leadership standpoint, you do not want it to get ugly to the point of you now get a black eye on the franchise and everything else, and you want this turning into a melee. But we all understand there is a fine line. But we all understand in sports what a street fight within the rules and the lines look like. And I didn't see that in the second half. What I was and by the way, there was some of this right after, obviously, Jerry and Jones, we should start a GoFundMe for him. We'll get to what Doug said.
No, I'm gonna
Forget about what Doug said.
Hey, Sean Conn. Pay Jerry and Jones fine.
Yeah.
Enough said.
Give me whatever his My Cause, My Cleats will make a donation here on part of the show for Jerry and Jones. Because, I mean, that's what you're supposed to do.
That's who you want.
That's what you're supposed to do. And that's fine if you get ejected. Now, you can't do it the rest of the game. But I'll also say this. Sheriff, Mitch Morse, if you watch those guys after that, on that drive, they were burying people. Mm-hmm. And he was on a mission. Now, if you go back and watch that last 4 minutes, and Sheriff, he was on a mission.
Sheriff, after the fact, almost went after it,
He did. He was the first one in line to do it.
Yeah.
That's what you're supposed to do. And I will give credit to the offense in hindsight. They actually had some of their best play in the second half that they've had all year. It still wasn't pretty. They had to go up tempo, but they actually had scoring drives. So you got to give them some credit. To me, the defense was disappointing. They didn't get on the field until the second half because it was a kneel down at the end by C.J. Stroud. So their first chance to retaliate within the rules was in the third quarter and in the fourth quarter. They gave up 17 points and got down 23-6. There was not a hard hit that I remember. There was not a dominant play that was like, that's for Trevor. That's for doing that to our guy. There wasn't an almost late hit, an almost unnecessary roughness. Every play should have been towing that line.
Push like after every nothing.
Play should have been towing that line. You don't have to go overboard, cheap shot, anything. Those plays should be towing the line of making those guys think. Instead, because they were on edge, C.J. Stroud, I think you could tell early in the third quarter, he was like,
Oh, no, he was.
He didn't know what they were going to do.
Yeah.
And by the way, that's the way it should be.
Rightfully so.
That's the way it should be. And it wasn't. So disappointed in the way that defense played. And by the way, that came from Doug at halftime. It's like, let's be professional. I get it. But you can still turn it into a street. There's a line to go to. And again, to me, it sums up. I think that's what was so eye-popping to me, all the things you just said. This was a team to me 2 years ago. Doug Peterson was like, we got to beat the Tennessee Titans. We're going to show videos. We can't beat the Titans. Yeah. We got to beat the Houston Texans. That team responded to it. What made things worse yesterday is that was the Houston freaking Texans who own your ass here in Jacksonville, who have owned you for a decade, who own you yesterday, who own the AFC South, and you let them have it. You just said, okay, didn't bow up to the Houston Texans. Doug's shaking hands at the end of the game, hugging. I respect you, D'Amico Ryans. You know what? Send a message, Doug. Do that later. Give him a call. I get the respect. I don't need to see the coach at the midfield.
I don't know.
I get the respect. It's a professional game. I get that. The game's changed to some degree. You can still be pissed off in the moment. You can still be mad at that guy. Sure. You can still do that. You can do that for the fans. You can do that for your football team. You can do that for your quarterback. If Trevor Lawrence was watching that second half, what in the second half said, man, they got my back. I appreciate that. Mm-hmm. What said? I felt the Jags fan base. I felt Jags Twitter. I felt everybody else wanted to go fight more than anybody else to avoid penalties on the field, to be too professional on the field, to avoid fines on the field. And it just, like I said at the top, it adds up to why you lost to the Tennessee Titans last year and got your butt whooped. It's why you can't get 3rd and 1 and 3rd and 2 ever. Ever. And it's why, with the game on the line yesterday, on 3rd and 5, they run a simple toss and they get 8 yards. With the game on the line against your division rival, it's why you can't win. It's why you're 2-10. Monteric Brown didn't even enter the fray on that play if you go back and watch it. This team has a bigger problem, and that's why it's so disappointing. I think it bothers me more is that I got hope a little bit. They're going to get it right. They're going to get it right. Maybe softer part of the schedule, coming off the bye. They're refreshed. They still are playing.
Yeah.
No, you don't have it. You don't have it. Some guys do, but the team doesn't. This is these guys are really cool guys. They're great guys. They're nice guys. That ain't it. I'm not calling anybody out for that. I'm talking about the whole totality of the team. I'm as soft as Sherman, all right? You guys are tough. This is a violent game. I respect the hell out of it. But the team, I will ask you this. I'll finish with this right here. The Baltimore Ravens, the Pittsburgh Steelers, the Buffalo Bills, the Detroit Lions, and you can go on and on and on. They are not getting their ass kicked 23-6 at home to a division rival if your quarterback just got put on the ground like that in that game earlier.
Nope.
They are not getting beat 23-6. I don't care if the score ended up 23-20. They would never have been down 23-6. And that is a problem. That is a major problem in Jacksonville. You do not hate the Houston Texans enough inside that building, and you should, because they own your ass.
And I don't know, like we talk about Dan Campbell, we talk about Mike Tomlin. I'm not sure how many of those guys would have used the platform to bring Jerry and Jones down and try to make an example of him for doing things the wrong way. Okay? Now, I'm not saying Dan Campbell would have celebrated Jerry and Jones saying, yeah, that's what we got. But you have an opportunity to go, hey, you know what? Yeah, maybe not the best decision, but I'm proud of him for sticking up for, no, but you want to chastise him and say, Jerry Jones, he's got to be smarter than that. You know, you got to do things a certain way. What?
We have that sound? I mean,
play the sound really pissed me off this morning.
Level of football, right? When the quarterback gets hit, at that magnitude, it just escalates. And obviously, Jarian, on our side, he can't do what he did either, right? That's unacceptable as well. And I know the league will, probably send out fines for both players and maybe some others. But there's when you see that, yes, it does. And plus, it's a division game, right? It's a division game, and it's an emotional football game as it is. But at the same time, we've got to. You have to be the bigger person. You got to be the bigger man in situations like that, and just fortunate that nobody else was ejected from the game.
No, you're not. No, you're not fortunate. No, there should have been. This place would have more respect for this football team and franchise and everything else if 12 guys got ejected and you lost 23-6.
Yeah.
That's your damn franchise quarterback, and that's a bad hit. It's a dirty hit. And that's the Houston Texans.
Who've had your number, who are essentially your older brother.
I mean, listen, CEO, leadership, you got to be the cooler thing. I kind of get but not to scold Jarian Jones.
But Doug,
just say that I get it. It's a lot of emotion. He's trying to protect his teammates.
Especially a former player.
Where was that in that soundbite? At least say that. Then you can say, hey, but we got to have cooler heads. We got to be able to ramp it up, but not go over the line. Why can't you say that? Why can't you say that? This is not who the Jags should be. Like Jarian Jones, you shouldn't be celebrating and all that. We shouldn't be celebrating fighting, all of that stuff. But he surely shouldn't be scolded in front of a microphone in the postgame for rallying behind the franchise quarterback.
Listen, I get it, okay? You aren't playing for the playoffs anymore. And the team has underachieved to the nth degree, okay? Your expectations are being reached on offense, defense. I understand all that. It's a frustrating season, and nobody has the answers. But when it comes down to it, and you're still playing in these games, you got to have some sort of pride about you. You have to have some sort of respect, some sort of pride for the organization, all right? I remember when I got drafted here, right? Like, yeah, it was coming off some pretty good seasons here in Jacksonville, but like I remember watching videos, when I first got here, Joe Cohen would show us of like John Henderson, of like what it meant to put the jersey on, what it meant to put the helmet on, the players that have come before you, the badasses that have come before you, the expectation to try to, live up to what they kind of had as a standard. And like we tried our best to follow that. Yeah, and that wasn't always pretty, but I guarantee you go back to some of these games during those bad parts of the season when I played here, we weren't laying down. We weren't, if someone cheap shotted us, we cheap shot you back. Like, we're together in this. And I don't know how you go from that to, don't want to get fined, don't get in trouble. Yeah, you gotta be the bigger man, gotta walk away. All the I don't know what changed.
Yeah,
from
I don't know.
that point when I got here, but something changed. And once again, it's a culture problem. And when we talk about culture problems, and I've been preaching this the entire damn season, and I'm doing it again, it's Groundhog's Day, lo and behold, it starts at the top. All right? There's no one player you can point to and say, oh, it's because of him. I wish it was that easy. Now, I can point to Evan Ingram, I can point to Anton Harrison, I can point to Brandon Sheriff and go, we need more of that. That's the video that I'm showing my players saying, you see what they're doing right there? That's what we need. That's who we are. And guess what? Two guys that weren't even drafted this organization. Brandon Sheriff was a free agent from Washington. Evan Ingram was a guy from New York. And those two guys have more pride maybe than anybody here? How does that work? How does that happen?
Well, they're here to help change the culture, and those guys have tried to, right? They tried to. And again, I go back to two instances that I think this is different in the second half. That 22 team, I think, is different. I think the 22 team bows up and plays, just ramped up the whole game, that whole second half. Again, I give credit to the offense. I think they kind of did. This offense stinks, and their offense actually did bow up, and those got led by that offensive line. And, they stepped up a little bit. I can't criticize them too much. They're just not a very good offense, and they've struggled scoring touchdowns, and obviously they had to go up tempo to make it work. But I like the effort I saw from those guys after, and even in the second half, I think it showed. The defense, man, I'm really surprised. I'm just really surprised somebody didn't do something. Like maybe you shouldn't have traded Roy Robertson-Harris, because I feel like Roy Robertson-Harris would have done something. Yeah. I go back to 22. I think that team would have done something. I go back to 2017. I think half of them would have been ejected.
Yeah. Well, your left tackle definitely would have been ejected, the one that you just traded.
Yeah. Well, and again, like you can't keep everybody forever. But Telvin Smith and Jalen Ramsey and Malik Jackson and probably Miles Jack, because he follows the lead of all of them. They're all getting ejected in that game.
Guys, we talk about Calais Campbell all the time. I'm not saying he would have been ejected, but he's about as nice as they come, and he's kind of our standard for, off the field and even on the field leadership and whatever. He's not standing idly by if something like that happens yesterday.
No, but he would be breathing fire.
Exactly.
And that's what Sheriff did. See, Sheriff did what you're supposed to do. And that's how you turn that into this energy that is within the rules, not cheap shotting, but you don't want it. Like, when I was watching Sheriff, man, it was amazing to watch. And I was like, you don't want to be that guy across from him right now, right?
No.
Anton Harrison said after the game, like, I liked what Anton said, and he also said they're yapping. It's hard to not do something cheap or after the whistle because they're yapping at you and they're trying to get you to do it. I get that. Like, that's an interesting emotion.
Yeah.
But what I think Doug did at halftime is say, hey, be professional here. Don't do anything stupid here. And what happens then? You check your emotions so much, you go the other way. You actually go the other way where you're afraid to do it. And by the way, like, I think Josh Hines-Allen said, well, Doug mentioned at halftime the officials had warned him. They said in the pool report that they don't warn anybody.
Yeah.
So
it's not baseball where they warn the dugouts.
No, they don't do that. Now, again, maybe they warned the coaches, or somebody did, that they're going to have obviously they're going to have an eye out for it. But guys, there was no flag in the second half. There was no flag. I don't think there was a flag in the second half other than a delay a game on Mac Jones.
There was one singular play I thought that one of our guys potentially tried to do a little something. It was Trayvon when Dalton Schultz tried to hurdle. A
little bit, but he was punching the ball.
No, and then he kind of landed on top of him. That was the only one. Other than that, I'm like...
He plays violent all the time anyway.
Right.
So you know the play that stuck out to me? They had a punt return, right? Remember Luke Farrell got a holding call? Somehow the punting team got a holding call, so I guess there was another flag because that was another one.
Right. Yeah.
But the guy goes out of bounds on the Houston side.
Okay.
And if you go back to that play, and I'm thinking, he's going to maybe level him here.
Yeah.
Had a chance to. He had a chance to. Late hit would have been a late hit all day. But it was like, so what? Like, that's the one. Like, what? That's playing, I don't know. And again, he would probably be scolded, and that's stupid and everything else. It doesn't, it's a fine line. I get it. We're acting a fool a little bit by saying you should just start fighting. That's not what we're saying. That's not what we're saying. We've all watched sports where the intensity is ramped up to the point where you think there's going to be a penalty on every play. There's pushing and shoving on them. There was nothing. Mm-hmm. There was nothing like that. They never had to separate a player in the second half. Never. How in that world did they ever not have to separate a player? I grew up in the Red Sox-Yankees rivalry, man. The Red Sox, this is the problem with this group right now. This is the problem with Doug right now. He doesn't understand it enough in Jacksonville. You should hate that football team. And that team did that to your quarterback. It only ramps it up. You should hate them even more for the next. I tweeted, this is going to set the tone for the next few years. Whether they win or lose, what you do in this game is going to set the tone for the next few years. It didn't set any damn tone. They backed off.
It would set expectations for, once again, I'm not saying go out there and punch somebody in the face, but I'm saying go out there and defend yourselves and defend your quarterback. You do that, you might set a precedent in terms of, hey, we may not be winning a lot of games right now, but don't ever F with us. But no. F with us. It's fun.
Again, the Raiders are stink. Ain't no way they play that way in the second half. The Raiders, no way.
You think Alec Pierce is going to, Antonio Pierce. Antonio Pierce might be ejected.
He might.
Yeah.
He might. And again, fine line. All I'm asking for, a little extra pushing and shoving. Skirmishes a little bit. Maybe a flag. Not a cheap shot. I don't think that's right. You can't do that.
Yeah.
You can't do that. But this hugging and stuff after the game is in that instance. And then it was just okay reaction in the locker room. This measured stuff. Stop. Somebody go off. But this is why you're 2-10. That's why you're 2-10.
I mean, if you, man,
we've been asking for this for all year.
I'm really at a lot. Yeah.
They came out flat on a Monday night. They came out flat in their home opener. We've been begging for something all year. This is a constant theme.
This is the frustrating thing too, right? Where if you can get pissed off because you maybe played the worst game in franchise history in Detroit, and no one really did anything, and then you come back after a bye week, the following game, and your quarterback gets cheap shotted, out for the game, concussed, and you really can't get pissed off, I don't know what else to tell you. I don't think, there's nothing else that's going to take, Brent. Like, if you can't get pissed off over that, then I guess you are who you are.
Doug applauded the refs in his postgame.
Cool.
He applauded the refs.
Yeah. Held it together.
Jeez.
Held it together.
Unbelievable. Yeah. All right. We take a break. We come back, and we'll talk more about this and what it means for Trevor Lawrence. By the way, Walker Little extension. Great day in Jacksonville yesterday. Just another. Hope everybody had a good Thanksgiving weekend. Just had to end with a Sunday, unfortunately. We'll take a time out. Brent Austen Show, Action Sports Jax 24/7 Network. Season over, most likely for that guy, I gotta believe. But we'll see what happens over the next couple of days. And hang with us here on the show.
Welcome back to the Brent and Austen Show, streaming on the Action Sports Jax 24/7 Network.
There's a look at Walker Little, and I'm not sure if he had a good or a bad Sunday. I would say it's pretty good if you signed an extension for $45 million, just kind of out of the blue. I like so many people in this organization. I really do. My kids go to the games. They love the Jags. You love the Jags. Yeah. We all kind of love the Jags. We were, what the hell is this organization doing? What the hell are they doing? What are we doing in Jacksonville? Like,
put it on Brent Hamby. Just put the camera on Brent for right now. Let him
what
cook.
Is going on? I just saw Gene Fournette tweet, because, of course, it's a Zoom call today, and I saw Gene Fournette tweet about Walker Little, and Walker Little was surprised the Jags came to him during the bye week about a contract extension because, in part, Trent Baalke doesn't do deals during the season. He wouldn't do a deal with Josh Hines-Allen and even talk about it, but it's okay to do a deal with Walker Little in the bye week to, I don't know, save your butt, protect, start building toward next year. Like, how is Shad allowing this to happen? Shad has to sign off on that. Listen, I like Walker Little, actually. I'm not a Walker Little hater. I think he's fine. I think he actually has been treated somewhat unfairly over his rookie contract by this football team, by this franchise. And I'm okay with him as your left tackle. But he is a question mark at best right now. You have no idea what he is. And this is a moderate deal, but you can't let him play a few more games. You can't let him play through the rest of the season. This is if somebody else comes in here, this is a position in left tackle that someone's going to look at it this way and another person's going to look at it that way. And you got a top 10 pick in the draft. Heck, you got the number 1 overall pick. Someone's going to say, no, we're going to go get this guy. If Jim Harbaugh was coming into Jacksonville in the offseason, you think he's got Walker Little as left tackle? Or is he going to the draft?
He's going to the draft.
So how is Trent Baalke allowed to spend holiday shopping money at this point when things are up in the air to this point, to this degree? Is this a sign that Trent is back? And if you haven't told them that they're back and you think that's still up in the air, why are we letting anybody do deals like this? This is not the Josh Hines-Allen deal. This is not it. Again, happy for Walker Little.
Sure.
I think he's a fine player.
A guy
he might be really good.
Didn't get Rulefield shake either in terms of playing. They asked him to play 10 different positions.
But that's not the point of this. So this isn't about you, Walker Little. But this is about what are you doing in this organization right now? What's going on? Why? Why on Sunday morning is he getting a contract extension before this football game? On the bye week. So let me just recap what happened. Bring Austin back on the screen. I'm tired of being on the screen myself. But let me just recap what happened in the last 2 weeks.
Yeah.
The Jags got embarrassed by the Detroit Lions to the tune of the worst loss in franchise history 2 Sundays ago. No changes in the front office. Mm-hmm. No changes to the coaching staff. No changes to the roster. No changes to the starting lineup. Yeah. No, the only move that was made of significance.
Reward him, Brent. Pay him his money.
A contract extension for Walker Little by the GM who is on the hot seat. What are we doing?
What are we doing?
What is going on in Jacksonville? And then you get that performance. To be honest with you, the only thing I'm surprised by yesterday is that Will Anderson or Donnell Hunter didn't have 3 sacks against him.
Sure.
He did a nice job yesterday.
That would have been, yeah.
He did a nice job.
He did.
And again, I'm fine with him as a player there. You have a lot of questions to answer. Maybe you shore those up. You have veteran guys on this contract with Trevor Lawrence. Maybe that's okay. But we're talking about a football team that obviously needs upgrades. And somebody else who's coming in here as a head coach and a GM or scouts or whatever, if they are coming in here, certainly would have debate over whether Walker Little is the guy going forward.
And this is what I can't fathom. Once again, talking about culture, talking about starting at the top. If I'm Shad Khan and I'm a businessman and I assume Trent Baalke comes to me and goes, hey, I'm going to need some money. Oh, really? For what? Okay, Walker Little. And Shad Khan probably go like, well, kind of, yeah. What about him? Well, we're going to give him a new contract. Shouldn't we wait till the end of the season? Nah, we're going to pay him right now after Thanksgiving. Okay, and how much money is that? What was the contract again?
$45 million.
Yeah, $45 million. Okay, yeah, cool. Sounds good. I trust you. How does that conversation go? How does the conversation go? And once again, and I agree with you, nothing against Walker Little at all, because I've been an advocate of this. I feel like he's been done pretty dirty here in terms of what he's been asked to do. So I'm glad to see it kind of course-corrected itself a little bit. Now, during the season, makes zero sense to me, but I'm glad it course-corrected a little himself, and he's getting his money. More power to him. But even when he comes out and says, yeah, I wasn't really expecting that, what are we doing? What kind of precedent are we trying to set here?
Yeah, I don't know.
The fact that he wouldn't even talk about the deal with Josh Hines Allen last year. Wouldn't talk about it, wouldn't discuss it. Mid-season deals don't exist, apparently.
Yeah, I just don't understand. It's an unnecessary spend at the moment. I'd rather you give him a Christmas present in 3 weeks when he's played good football at that spot for 3 weeks. But this is the
not
problem.
After a game.
Have they seen enough in 2 games?
What other?
That's how many games he played, right? After Cam got traded, he played 2 complete football games and then the bye.
Yes,
one of those was the Lions.
This is a serious question.
You saw 2. Oh my God.
I know we love to do
enough
things
to buy into.
Well, sure, but
it doesn't matter. It's
as
the
your bona
timing.
fide left tackle,
it's Trent Baalke making this decision. Why is he allowed to make this decision?
What I don't understand is you lost 52-6, and yeah, worst game in franchise history. What other teams in the NFL would then turn around and go, you know what the solution is? Not firing anybody, but we're going to pay one of our players who, to be fair, maybe could have addressed in the draft, but no, we're just going to pay. I don't think any other team in the NFL would follow this blueprint. But for whatever reason, the Jacksonville Jaguars like doing things a certain way, kind of going against the grain a little bit, trying to buck the trend. Where has that got you the past decade? Maybe, just maybe, look at teams like the Steelers, look at teams like, the Lions, and say, maybe try to be more like them. And stop trying to outsmart yourselves and think that you're better than everybody else, because you're not. Because you've won 2 games this year and you have the first pick of the draft. So maybe go against the instincts of trying to buck the trends and do things the Jaguars way, and stop doing things the Jaguars way.
Listen, I get you've got to put your blinders on in an organization. You got to go in that bubble to some degree.
Open them up, Brent. Wide-eyed now.
But you've got to block out noise. They do a good job of that. You've got to be able to do that. But you know what? This goes back to my article, quite frankly. You've got to have a feel. You've got to have a feel for this stuff. I mean, how do you give a contract extension after that Detroit loss?
What other team does that? Honestly, what other team goes, yeah, I think now's the time?
I mean, I don't get it. I don't get it. I don't get the fact. This team has to have a better feel. They've got no sense of what's going on here in Jacksonville. Doug doesn't right now. With that Houston stuff and yesterday and the team doesn't and the GM, I don't know what he's doing. And I mean, do you think Trent Baalke's back? Is this what this says? I honestly wanted to say, listen, I got to the point where we were in the locker room yesterday because of the Trevor stuff. But I kind of wanted to ask Doug, because, of course, Trent never speaks, even after making a signing like this. But I'd almost like to ask Doug, like, have you been told you're safe?
Yeah.
To me, the move by Walker Little says maybe this regime has been, hey, this is for the long term. We're going to roll it back. We believe it's best for the quarter. Like, is that what's been said? And honestly, I haven't heard that. I'm just asking because I'm sure you guys are all asking. But I doubt that's what's been said. I doubt anybody's going to say that from ownership. Like, you guys are cool with 6 games to go. But the move of this Walker Little extension kind of like put that thought in my mind, like, they already know they're coming back.
Oh, no, that's the first thing I thought of. Because here's why. If you're Shad Khan, once again, like, I get you're a billionaire, so it's maybe some pocket change what you're spending on Walker Little. But if Baalke wasn't going to be here next year, why would you even take advice? Why would you want to go, I'm listening to you again and sign some more players, especially after the loss to Detroit?
Well, not only the loss to Detroit, Austin. How about after he spent the money in the offseason and it's been a big whiff?
Yeah.
A big whiff outside of Mitch Morse. I mean, I saw Armstead got a hand on a ball yesterday.
Think about what you just said.
Nice.
Cool?
Nice.
Darby.
Nice.
Darby made up for Andre Cisco.
But, man, he got bailed out on that one.
It was, he was
toast by 5
May got there a little earlier than, I mean.
Well, but that was Cisco's
You'll
fault,
take it.
apparently. He got benched. Hey, finally. Somebody got to the bench.
Yeah. I mean, I don't understand, because if you're Shad Khan, like, even going into the Houston game, maybe you're hopeful there's no way this team was going to the playoffs. So then it's like, okay, well then what is the point of hanging on to anything at the end of the season? What is the point of paying somebody a decent contract that will probably make them the starting left tackle? If you're not like, it makes zero sense, Brent. So that's what I went to, and then once again, now I'm doing mental gymnastics, and now I'm going down the rabbit hole of, I guess Trent Baalke's here next year, because why else would you pay Walker Little? Like, obviously you still trust Trent Baalke if you're gonna take his word and say, you know what, yeah, I think we got to pay this guy.
I mean, it's almost like if you, I could see you signing right now, which I don't even know you can. I think you got to get through the year, but let's just say, I could see you signing Trayvon Walker right now. I could see you coming to a deal with Trayvon Walker and being like, hey, great year, ascending player.
Sure.
We're going to lock him up. We're going to keep him forever. We got it done. Again, I want to be fair to Walker Little. I'm actually a believer. Like, I'm okay with Walker Little. But I think he's a questionable player to be your future left tackle. I think there are varying points of view. This is not a slam dunk. This is not a slam dunk that he's the guy. If you bring in 5 coaches, 5 GMs, they're going. I had one person around the NFL tell me yesterday, not really surprised they let him do it, but a little surprised they gave him $15 million a year.
Yeah.
Like, that's the response you get. Because that's true. You haven't seen enough. You don't know enough. And they let him do it. But that's a problem. That's a problem. There's no feel right now. And this is why I go back to relationships, like have a little bit of a feel for talk to the fans once in a while coming out of that game. Yesterday, coming out of any game, coming out of any press conference, like, there's just no feel. You live in your own bubble. You do it your way. Guess what? Your way is 3-15 in the last 18 games. You've messed up the run. You made the playoffs. You were 8-3, and you've screwed it up, and now you stink again. That's their way. Our way is the best way.
Yeah.
You ain't doing it right. It's not right. Like, it's not right. Something's wrong, again, in Jacksonville. And I don't know even where you begin to fix it, quite frankly, but it probably doesn't start with a contract extension after you got your butt whooped by Detroit in embarrassing fashion. And it could have started with a little more fight in the second half by your defense against a team that just decapitated your quarterback.
Yeah.
And your division rival. It's just, they got deep problems. I don't know how you fix it. But they've buried themselves here. It looked like Doug was fixing it. Now Doug can't push a right button. Doug seems like he's lost the feel of this thing. Doug's kind of helping it out. They can't get 3rd and 1. There's no fight in them, or not enough fight in them. There's not no fight. They do battle and play hard and all those things. But he's lost it. I mean, he is, anybody, I thought about this yesterday, anybody who thinks he lost the locker room is actually dead wrong.
The locker room.
He has the locker room so much.
The locker room's the reflection of him.
He has the locker room so much that he said something at halftime like, all right, don't go crazy, and they listened.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I wish he didn't have the locker room.
Yeah. No, that's exactly what it is, Brent. And listen, I would love to come in here and talk about the X's and O's and player performances, but we're way past the point of that now. And it's to the point, and to echo what you're saying, like, it's just nothing really makes sense. Like, the decisions don't make sense. What we're seeing on the field doesn't make sense. And once again, it's not just from I would love nothing more to come in here on Mondays and just talk about what we see on the field and just talk about the X's and O's. Like, that's why I feel like I'm here. And we're way past the point of that. We're talking about culture. We're talking about attitude. We're talking about signing players after your worst loss of all time. It's just, there's no rhyme or reason to anything. And I'll just keep repeating what I say till I'm blue in the face. I can't point out one player and say, well, that's the issue. I don't think they can either, because if they would have, we would have saw a player get let go. We would have saw somebody get benched, be elevated. It's more of the same, is it not? So then what was the big change? Was Doug calling the plays? What's the big change?
I forgot to ask our guys. I told them to put a camera on them.
Well, yeah, because we're way past the point of caring about it.
Yeah. Well, listen, you're right. And what can they change? I don't know. But they didn't change anything. They didn't even try. They did take Cisco out eventually. Tyson Campbell got hurt against him. Monteric Brown was in late in the game. But they didn't really change anything. I mean, they're forced to change stuff because of injuries most of the time.
Sure.
But they didn't change it. And honestly, I don't know what you can change. I thought some of the play, I will say this, I thought some of the play calling was pretty good yesterday.
They had the little shovel to
they did.
Evan Ingram.
They did. And not only that, like,
something new.
There was some goofy stuff, like the 2nd and 13 run, and then the 3rd and 10, 4 wide receiver bubble screen. Mm-hmm. Like, they were just like being safe and playing field position and punting it. Like, but I thought the play calling was fine for overall. I mean, you can nitpick some things, but Mac Jones got to hit a touchdown. Trevor and Mac had Brian Thomas Jr. open. I mean, they got these plays, and their guys aren't making them. Brian Thomas did drop one. So, again, that's just who they are. They're not a good football team, and they don't make those plays for whatever reason. But I don't know what you fix. I don't know if they did change something with the playbook, because it did look a little bit better. Why can't you start the game up tempo if that's the only thing that does really work? Because, again, they scored in garbage time. Let's not forget that. Like, this was a blowout that turned close because the NFL is kind of funny like that. Mm-hmm. And they did it with the up tempo. They're afraid to start the game with up tempo. And I'm by the way, I hate the up-tempo reason for everything. Oh, yes, this fixed up-tempo. Hey, this doesn't work. Up-tempo. Hey, you can't get first on up-tempo. It's like, it's all anybody on a microphone says the last, 10 years I've been in Jacksonville. 15 years I've been in Jacksonville. So I hate it. But it does seem to work a little bit better. So just start the game. Better than the 3 and out. Oh, no, we're afraid we might put our defense in a tough spot. Who gives a damn? You always put your defense in a tough spot. You stink on offense. You went 25 possessions in a row, 20 days, more than 10 quarters without scoring a touchdown. That's unreal. That's unreal. I mean, and maybe they figured something out. Mac looked a little better. I mean, Parker Washington, nice job.
Yeah.
That's what we could talk about.
Sure.
But you only talk about if you win. I mean,
or if
they don't win.
Yeah.
I think that's what, again, this everything kind of hit you yesterday, to me. Everything kind of hit you. Like, oh, this is a big, big problem. This isn't just a play calling issue. This isn't just they got to get the quarterback healthy issue. This isn't just they're not playing well at the safety spot. This is overall, Austin, like you keep saying, like we've said in the first hour, it's a bigger problem. There's a lot more to fix here. And organizationally, they've got to figure things out. And it starts with probably not extending a guy 2 weeks after you just got your butt whooped on a guy that probably will be a questionable extension by some around the National Football League, including whoever is calling the shots in 2025 outside of Trent Baalke and maybe Doug Peterson. which might happen again. So let's do this. Take a break. Brent Austen Show. We got plenty of sound to hear from these guys. Also, Parker Washington performance is encouraging. We also we'll get to some of the college football stuff, which was pretty wild. I mean, fights all over the place this weekend.
Yeah.
There's a fight in Thanksgiving.
For sure.
We will get to that. And Jerry Mack, this happened during the game. It happened during the game. Oh, it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable.
Dude was ready to get out, man.
What I don't know, and maybe I didn't read it or see it because, again, I wasn't in Doug, but is he leaving like today?
Dude signed his contract during the game. He's like on his sofa. I'm like, yeah, give me out.
We had heard a couple of weeks ago he was in the mix and he was interviewing. I think it might even have been out there. And so congratulations, Jerry Mack gets the Kennesaw State job. And I heard good things about him. So obviously he gets a head coaching gig. Good for him. He goes up to the state of Georgia. I just don't know when. I don't know if he's leaving like today or if he's hanging through the rest of the season. I got to assume that he's probably getting out of here sooner than later. And I wouldn't blame him. Yeah. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to the Brent and Austen Show. Streaming on the Action Sports Jax 24/7 network.
Hey, welcome back here to the Brent and Austen Show on a Monday. We got a busy week, a fun week, by the way, here in Jacksonville. I hope everybody had a good Thanksgiving. I say fun week, fun couple of weeks, fun month of December for us as we get the lineup rolling here today. We've just had our postgame show. That will air a couple of times. Some emotion in that one, and you hear from everybody. In the locker room as well. We do that after the game on Facebook and also on the Action Sports Jax 24/7 network. Obviously, we're in the middle of the Brent and Austen Show. High School Hoops Media Day. If you missed any of that, get ready for high school hoops season, which kind of ready for basketball season right now. 3 hours of that. Jags Report live tonight. Christian Kirk is going to join us at the New Strings Sports Brewery in Jax Beach. So the Monday show has shifted to there. And then we don't have to show you every illustration of what we've got, but we got an Iceman game coming up on the networks, not here, but on TV later this week. We'll tell you more about that. And then in a couple of weeks, we have the Fortegra Invitational basketball tournament. We're going to show 9 basketball games, high school basketball games, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, next weekend. So we're excited about that. We'll have more information coming up, and including visit with some of the coaches in the high school hoop ranks. So stay tuned for all of that. This coming week and into next week. So busy first half of the month of December. Of course, we're on the road with the Jags in Tennessee. You know what's kind of interesting about the Jags right now? You go from Monday of 2 weeks ago where it's like, hey, I wonder if something's going to happen, to now it's like, hey, Jags lost again, whatever. Nothing's happening. Like it's not even on my radar. I'd be so stunned if there was a move made. No. On a Monday now, right? So now it's like wait until the end of the season. I guess if the Jags were to lose 3 or 4 in a row right now, you would kind of wonder, will they get an early head start on it if they continue to lose, and then I don't know, maybe they lose to the Titans at home in the end of December. Do they cut it off a week early? I don't know, but it's not even on my radar right now if they're going to make any moves. It's just kind of wait and see to the end of the season.
No, I mean I've been very adamant about this. If you're not going to make any changes after 52-6 in Detroit, I think you won't make any changes at all until the season's done.
Yeah.
Honestly, like if that wasn't the tipping point, there is no tipping point.
Yeah, it doesn't look like there's a tipping point in Jacksonville. As I thought the Jags were going to roll off some wins here late. Now I don't. I've lost confidence in that. I actually thought they were going to figure something out, and part of that was Trevor coming back.
Yeah.
And Trevor looked a little rusty at times. He also made a beautiful throw to Parker. Like, you get those, and then you got a little rusty hang up. The timing was off, right? Probably should have thrown it earlier. But I guess you do expect a little bit of that. C.J. Stroud did that, too, and he's been playing. Yeah. The Darby was able to kind of rescue that play because that ball was either thrown late or just got hung up. Same kind of side of the field. So I thought Trevor and the offense were going to find something eventually during this last 6 games. Now I don't even know or think if Trevor's going to play. And I guess that's the story. I mean, we just kind of complained for an hour about the state of this football team and franchise, but the real story here is your franchise quarterback just really took a blow. I mean, this was a bad hit. This is worrisome. This is his second concussion in as many years. Mm-hmm. It doesn't feel to the degree of Tua, but I don't know when you take a hit like that if it's that far from the degree of Tua. And you don't want to take one of those. You sure as heck don't want to take 2 of them. But hopefully he's okay. He's a tough dude. He battles it out. But Trevor, don't come back early on this one. Not when you're dealing with the head stuff.
Well,
do you shut him down for the rest of the year?
I was just going to ask you that. So you have 5 games left, right? And some of these games, they appear winnable, but based off what we've seen, we're not sure if they really are. You know, dealing with the shoulder, which do we know, will he need surgery on that shoulder or not? It hasn't been clarified yet?
Yeah, it's still up in the
it's
air.
Up in there.
I think it sounds to me like it's a 50-50 deal.
Okay.
And when it's 50-50, I
think
on the side of getting to doing it.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Concussions, you know, everyone can come back differently. You know, I mean, I've had a couple myself. Sometimes you're in a fog for a week. Sometimes there's lingering effects. You know, everything's different. I'm sure knowing Trevor, and this is a case right now, if you're the doctors, who are nothing but the best, but even if you're the coaches, sometimes you got to save a guy from himself, right? So I'm not saying Trevor shut it down. Like, if he's in the sound state of mind where he can come back and play, okay, then so be it. But you need to err on the side of caution, though, if that's going to be the case.
Guys, real quick before we get into whether he'll come back, right here, and it's tough to guess because we don't know, if he's 100% there. What did you? I mean, the faces that he was making, the expressions, it was kind of expressionless. To me, he just looked pissed. Maybe.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think he's pissed off at the cheap shot. I really do.
He doesn't say a word to any of his teammates to come up to him. I mean, it's.
Well, I mean, he probably got knocked out on the field. Well, I have no idea what that feels like, but I mean, you're in a little bit of another world. And listen, everything. I think he's talked about this in the past. Like, everything flashes, right? You're like, geesh. Here I go again. I just came back. I just went through this, right? I have great respect for this part, and I know people don't like when guys are injured, and then we start labeling guys. I have great respect there in my years of covering the NFL specifically, or professional sports, or any sports for that matter, but really professional sports. The amount of work it goes into rehab and come back, and the emotional toll that it takes to do that. You talk to guys, and it's almost a state of depression to have to sit out and not be there and put all the work in and not play. And again, money on the line, sure, but they love playing the game.
That's
they
how
love
I felt
competing.
For Evan just for 2 games at the beginning of the year.
Yeah, I mean, we see it again. Like, people are going to probably get on Tyson Campbell. He's hurt again. Well, nobody is more bummed out than him about that. Like, he can't seem to stay healthy the last couple of years. And he's a talented player. And he feels like he can be like a Pro Bowl player if he's healthy. So you miss those opportunities. So I think everything flashes. I think all that's going through your mind right there if you're Trevor. And that's the crappy part about it. But, I mean, I thought there was a bunch to gain in the last 6 games with Trevor playing. I really did. I guess I was wrong. Because the people that said shut him down, maybe we would never experience this. Now I kind of lean towards shut him down. Because here's the thing, Austin. Trevor has not, he has battled back. Last year he battled back, wanted to play, played through some stuff. But you know what? If you look back, he didn't necessarily play well in that stretch. Here he is again. And I remember saying this last year. It's one thing to battle back and be ready to play, but you still have to play well. And so we know Trevor can get back and play. But what he really hasn't shown completely last year, and even at the start of this football game, is that he can come back, battle through it, and play well.
Yeah.
And so, to me, that shows he really shouldn't be playing in some of these games. He's not ready to go yet. And I don't mess with that this year now. Not with this head injury, not with the other stuff. Now I lean, and I wasn't this guy, but now I'm like, see you next year. Get right, and reboot it in 25. All is lost in 2024.
Yeah, I mean, listen, the player in me, the competitor in me wants to go. If you're feeling 100%, man, get back out there and try to salvage something. But then it's like the realist in me wants to go, for what?
Yeah.
As sad as that sounds, because yeah, okay, I guess you're playing for pride and that's important. I get that as a man, cool. But this whole season seems like an anomaly. It seems like a throwaway. It doesn't even seem real. And it's like whatever numbers that you put up, whatever momentum you could actually gain, Trevor, if you go back in there, I would just chalk it up and say it doesn't really even count because this season doesn't even feel real.
Yeah.
Like that's where I'm at now. Like if you want to talk about the stages of whatever acceptance, I mean I don't know if we're just like we can't comprehend it now, if we're at the grief period. I'm not sure. But it doesn't even seem like a season. So like to kind of I guess agree with you a little bit, Brent. Like shut it down then.
Yeah. I think you got to
go get Travis Hunter and can't wait.
Yeah, I don't know what's left. I think they're going to lose in Tennessee now. I didn't think that. I thought they were going to beat Tennessee. I thought they were going to beat the Jets. I
think the Jets got them, Brent. Yeah, I mean,
I thought they were going to beat the Raiders.
Week by week.
I don't know if I think that anymore. Like, I really don't. I mean, listen, Mac played better. They found a little something yesterday. They're capable enough. But I keep saying that. I don't feel like that, so I don't know what left. Again, he's not going to play this week. This is going to be a concussion. It's not right for him to play. You shouldn't get hit like that and play on Sunday.
Correct.
I think I'll be critical of the Jags if they even allow him to play. So this is a 2-week injury at a minimum, and by then you're talking 4 games to go in the season, and I think it's different than if he had played the whole game yesterday. They found a way to win. He played well. Like, that's what I was kind of hanging on to for the final 6 games. Because I do think winning football games is important in Jacksonville. I just think yesterday I came to the realization, I guess they're not going to win many. I really thought they were going to win like 4 out of the last 6. Something like that, the way they were playing still. And now I don't think they're going to do that. I really don't. I've lost the confidence that they are going to do that even against crappy teams. Yeah. They are a bad team. Like they to me, going into that game, were a team that had a top 3 pick that really wasn't that kind of team. They were a little more Kansas City of 2012 than they are 2020 Jags. And I don't think I feel that anymore. I think this is a team that this is no different than the first 10 games of Doug's career here in Jacksonville. They don't know how to win again. And quite frankly, Doug was able to find that. He can't find it either because he doesn't know how to win. Doug Peterson and this football team do not know how to win. They've lost 15 out of 18 games.
If you would have told me to start the season off that when it was all said and done, or I guess, when you're 12 games into the season, that the Carolina Panthers would have a better record than the Jacksonville Jaguars, I would have said you are high off your you-know-what.
And trending up.
Pissed off that they lost to Tampa Bay. Yeah. Irate that they lost to Tampa Bay. Feel like they got screwed over to Tampa Bay.
I mean, they're trending up. Like this.
It's the Panthers.
It's the Panthers. This roster is 100 times better than the Panthers. And trending up.
Doesn't
make any sense.
Man, I'm getting tired of these Mondays, Brent.
Yeah, Bryce Young, by the way, that's a cool story.
Yeah.
Right? We thought he was gone.
Mm-hmm.
Boy, between comeback stories of the fall, Billy Napier and Bryce Young. Pretty amazing, right?
Yeah.